Hi, everybody. Before watching another terrific interview, I know you're going to like this one. Please help us out by subscribing to our YouTube channel, MeisterCon Pod. We're really working on those numbers. We want to take this podcast to bigger and better things. So please help us out. YouTube, MeisterCon Pod. Now enjoy another terrific episode. I know you will.
Can we put that thing in, bro?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. Got a good one today. Comedian Darryl Lennox with me. So welcome, Darryl.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yeah, I was telling you off camera before we came on that I think the first time I remember hearing some of your comedy, you were on Conan.
Yeah, that was February 7th, 2013. I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, so do I. It feels like it was yesterday. It's been, almost a decade ago.
Right. It was a while. It was a big turning point. The big turning point. I'm honored to do it. Sitting on the couch and talking to him was very cool. Dream come true.
Yeah. And I mean, talk about just a good guy, funny guy. I mean, Conan, terrific.
Yeah, he really was. Very kind, very nice words. The whole staff made me feel very comfortable.
Was that, you'll have to remind me, but were you on Conan right after Blind Ambition came out?
Yep, Blind Ambition aired in late November, and then I was on Conan in November of 12, and then on 13, February 7th, 13, I was on Conan, like I said.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because after we went back and listened to Blind Ambition after we saw you on Conan.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I had to edit the hell out of that thing to get the TV ready. I was Edward Scissorhands cutting and chopping, putting that thing together.
Yeah. That's right. Well, you got to have the not safe for work and safe for work.
Yep, that's
versions.
Right. Exactly right. Very well put.
So Darryl, let's start here. Talk a little bit about, what got you into comedy. How'd you go about getting into the business?
Well, not to be stereotypical, but like most 6'3" lanky black dudes, I was dreaming of playing basketball, and I was in Seattle playing, visiting my father. I was playing a little ball there, and then got involved with an older lady. It's my first ever girlfriend, and she got tired of hearing me dreaming about playing the NBA, and said, "You need a real job ambition. What if you make it in the NBA?" So I'll show you. I'll do something even harder than playing the basketball. I'm gonna be a comedian. So,
that's right.
Yeah, so I signed up for an open mic at the Comedy Underground in Seattle, and I did it one time. I knew I was never gonna do anything else for the rest of my life. That's all it took, was that one time.
Really? I mean, because usually from comedians I've talked to, that first time, a lot of times it doesn't go very well.
No, this one went well, and it really, I knew, like I said, from the second that I was done, I knew that that's what I was put on earth to do. Everything fit, and so I made my mind up that night, and
that's terrific.
Have never have a job or anything since then. It's been ridiculous.
What was
33 years later.
What was your first, when you were working on your 5 or 10 minutes when you're getting up there? What was your first thing that you're like, that's funny? I'm using this. I'll work around this because it's funny.
I was walking from my dad's house to the comedy club, which was about 5 miles, and I made up a story about a movie called Betrayed with Tom Berger and Deborah Winger, and somehow I made that funny. And I thought it was funny in my head, but when they laughed, I was like, oh, okay, that's funny. But the first time I ever did something and a comedian wanted to buy it from me was I did a pro-choice joke. I talked about going to a pro-choice rally to pick up girls, and I got into altercation with a girl, and I said, I'm a comedian. She goes, well, say something funny. I said, well, why did she cross the road? She goes, why? I said, because it had a right to. It can do what it wants to do with its body. And that was the first joke that anybody offered to buy from me for $50.
Pretty good.
Terrible joke. I've been doing it about a month. And a guy, a headliner offered to buy it for $50 for me.
So. Pretty good. That's
It's
pretty good.
embarrassing now. Yeah, yeah. 33 years later, but what do you do?
So were you a guard when you were playing basketball?
Played point guard, sure did. Yep.
Yeah.
I like to, I was a real biblical kid, so I fancied myself that Jesus gave first, and then I heard Magic Johnson say, you get the glory by giving the ball up instead of scoring all the time, and so that kind
Yeah.
of fit in my brain set. So I wanted to pass the ball off and be a point guard.
Yeah, you're from my generation, I think. Magic Johnson was always the guy. That's the one that when I was growing up, that's if I could have had somebody's ability, that's the one I would have chosen.
Yeah, yeah, he was something else, and so he was. Obviously, everybody used to love Dr. J. I'll be 56 on Friday, so
Yeah.
that's the age I was in. So I saw Dr. J was one thing, but when I saw Magic, just his joy for the game, his ability to pass the ball and affect the game, that's what I really got off on. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yes, I turned 53 this year. And it was the Celtics, with
Yeah,
Bird, you had the Lakers with Magic and the Sixers with
yeah,
Dr. J. Moses Malone was still playing. They were kind of winding down a little bit when I was
yeah.
watching, but those were the
Andrew
teams
Moses.
everybody was watching.
A lot of good teams back then too.
Oh man, oh
Yeah,
man. Other than the height and all of the ability, I could have been Magic.
yeah. You got a good smile, you say, huh?
I had to smile down.
Yeah, the smile
How's it?
down.
I always said that if you left me open for 20, 30, 40 seconds to allow me to really set up, I could hit the shot.
Yeah, yeah.
I was deadly at horse.
Is that right?
Well, you could take as long as you wanted to set up. You didn't have somebody guarding you or anything. So.
Wait, were you like one of those trick shot horses? Where you go, okay,
No,
I'm
no,
gonna
no, just straight. I
straight
just
shooting?
straight shooting. No, no,
Yeah,
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Maybe I was good at trick shooting. I never gave it a try. I
yeah. Those
may have
dudes
missed
are
the boat.
behind the backboard, over the rim, and all that sort of
I
stuff.
could have
But
been a globetrotter. I didn't. Now I feel like I've wasted my life podcasting.
well, sounds like you're doing well at it.
So what when once you got in there, you started doing some shows. What was the big moment? Was it the call from the talk shows, or what was the big moment when you said, okay, this isn't just a dream. This is actually happening.
The first one was I was 2 years in, and because I had a basketball mentality, I left Seattle and I would go to San Francisco to see if I could compete against the better comics there. And then I
Yeah.
did pretty good. Then I went to LA and I did that. And I came back from a trip to LA. And for some reason, I just called the Improv in Hollywood. And a guy, Eric Fagan was his name. He said, "Hey, I just watched your set. You're really good." I go, "Really?" I didn't know they had recorded me. And a week later, they called and said, "We want you on Eating at the Improv." And that absolutely blew my brains out. That was the most
Amazing.
exciting thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Yeah, what a call. That's terrific. I mean, that has to be because comedy not exactly an easy profession, especially when you're first starting out, because you're traveling, you're up late, your hours are messed up, you're probably not eating the best. I mean, that's a difficult job.
It I didn't think of it because I was young, and
Yeah.
it was really more of a thing of, okay, because I was a point guard, now I get to score all the buckets. So everything was weekend in basketball, I was going to be strong and in comedy. And so I just, like I said, I never took a job, so I was always getting booted or electricity was turned off, but I felt this is the way you get better faster. So to me, it was just worth it, catching a bus to gigs. I thought it was all part of the journey, so I
Yeah,
loved it.
that's awesome. Who were your comedians growing up? Who did you like to listen to?
So obviously, my grandmother had all the Red Fox, and my
Oh,
mom and
Red Fox.
stepdad had the my grandma had the Rudy Ray Moores, all that sort of stuff, and my stepdad and my mom had the Richard Pryor and Bill Cosby, and I still listen to Chicken Heart and to whom my brother Russell. I still listen to those when I'm trying to work out something because of the timing and what he was able to do.
Yeah.
Then I got into, and then I really started studying the game, and then I became obsessed with Kip Adada. I don't know if you remember that old guy, but he was amazing. Richard, I just became a real student of the game. I figured if I'm
Yeah.
going to make the rest of my life doing this, then I'm going to study everything and everybody. And so
Yeah.
I just
That's awesome.
migrated through everybody. Yeah, I loved it.
I think for me, when the ones I remember, and I was listening to them back on, when they were releasing albums, was like
Yeah.
Bill Cosby himself. That was a big one. Of course, Richard Pryor, and then Eddie Murphy started doing the ones that you would go to
Yeah.
the theater to see with
Right.
like Raw and
Yeah.
Delirious
Hilarious.
and some of the and it just hilarious. The 80s
Yeah.
was a very good comic rich era.
It exploded. I mean, with Eddie
Yeah.
Murphy and Sam Kinison. I remember watching Sam Kinison.
Oh
I go,
yeah.
wow. I never really caught on to Dice's creativity, but his impact was enormous. And obviously Steinfeld skyrocketed, but all those guys, it was really fun to be learning comedy, in
Yeah.
1980 and 89. It was really fun.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So did you have any of those moments when you were going to perform and you run into somebody that you might have idolized a little bit before you got into comedy?
Not early on. The first person that really starstruck me, I guess, was not because he was star at the time. It was Chris Rock when he was just finishing the HBO special Bring the Pain, and I opened for him in Sacramento. But I'm so naive and arrogant that I thought I was gonna blow him off stage. No clue. No clue. He had dropped one of the greatest specials of all time. So then I was embarrassed that he was so good, and then he gave me some great advice. But after that, nah, not really starstruck. Marsha Warfield came to see me headline in Vegas, and that made me very nervous because I used to love watching her when I was, playing basketball. I watched her on all those. Remember on the Night Court and the the Rodney Dangerfield specials. So that
so
made me.
funny. Yeah, so funny. Yeah, I always loved Chris Rock. He was so good stand up, but he was terrific on Saturday Night Live. I always think of the when MC Hammer was hosting and he was doing the Michael Jackson and they were supposed to have the dance off. Hilarious.
Oh yeah, I never saw that
Oh,
one.
it was hilarious. Just good stuff. So did I read that you had actually opened for Chuck Berry at one time?
I did.
It's amazing.
I opened for Chuck Berry in Seattle. It was a storm, and Sheena Easton was supposed to be headlining. It was a corporate gig for the company Cisco. Yeah, you know that corporate company, right? Yeah. So big fancy thing at the Western Hotel, and Sheena Easton could not make it in because of weather. So Chuck Berry was just around town, so they were able to pull him off. So I got to open for him, meet him. He said, "Man, that was real funny, man." He slapped me 5 and went up, and then I had these 2 young ladies with me. He said, "Hey, where them girls go?" So, so, Chuck Berry was very true to his reputation.
Yeah.
I thought he was he was good. I thought he liked my skills, but he liked the girls that I was around.
I mean, Sheena Easton, amazing.
Yeah.
But I'd take Chuck Berry over her if I had
Absolutely.
the choice. Yeah. I mean, that's a kind of, once in a lifetime type of thing.
Absolutely. And Sugar Waltz was a silly song anyway.
That was the Prince song, right? He wrote that one?
Yeah. He wrote that for her. He sure did. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought. She was big there for she was in acting for a little while too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about, because I read this one too, that you got locked out of not just your apartment, but like the whole country of Canada for a
while. Locked is the same as getting kicked out. Yeah.
They wouldn't let you in.
Would not let me in. June the 19th, 2005. I remember those dates vividly, man. So I was flying back from Tampa. I had a corporate gig in the middle of Alberta. So I flew from Tampa into Seattle, caught a shuttle from Seattle to heading to the Vancouver airport, and they stopped me at the border and said they thought I had been living there illegally. I wasn't, but I did have a place there. And so, man, I was just lying, trying not to get caught. I didn't know what I was doing wrong when they just kept scaring me, telling me they're gonna put me in jail. And so I finally said this, I have an apartment here in Vancouver, but I never stay longer than 6 months. I know that's one of the regulations. So I just don't, because I have to travel as a comedian. They said, well, because you misrepresented, earlier in this dialogue, we're gonna ban you for a year. So they went
What'd
through
you
all
do
my
with your
stuff,
apartment?
lost it. Uh, they wouldn't let me get my stuff out, anything. So I had friends come in and get stuff out and put it in storage. But I mean, I was gone for a whole year, so I lost all my belongings, everything. So my whole life just got, just thrown out. I felt like Felix Auger. They just dumped me, and so
That's
I had to,
terrible.
I had to
Yeah.
rebuild my life.
How'd you handle, well, what was it like once you finally got back in and got all your stuff back?
I didn't. There was no more stuff to be gotten back, but I was mad and resentful because I knew I had not done anything wrong.
Yeah.
So finally, when the year was up, I went back and they gave me a hard time every time I came across the border. But it was hard. It's frustrating. But I decided I was gonna make something good happen from it. And eventually, they gave me a formal apology, which a government never does, but
Yeah.
they
That's
did.
rare.
Yeah, yeah, they did. So that was hard. That was a turning point too. I've had a lot of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Well,
all
and
have.
it's obviously given you lots of good material.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't done anything else. So what else am I gonna do?
So the new special, the new album, Super Bloom.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk a little about that.
Um. So it's something for me. Again, my whole life. This is my whole life and my soul on it. It's almost. I understand what a fanatic is, because that's what I've been for this. Almost a zealot in some weird ways.
Yeah.
But blind ambition, the fear of going blind and having suicidal thoughts and expressing them if the surgery went wrong, being afraid of becoming totally dependent on people, and the fear of the unknown of what's like to being blind,
Yeah.
to some 10 years, 11 years later, now I am actually 100% blind. And not only am I not afraid of it, I'm embracing it. And I've become so much more powerful and I believe whole as a human being. I care more about everything and everybody more than I've ever done. And I actually look at it as a blessing more than any kind of hindrance I've ever been through, which is saying a lot.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a so when you first started to go through that, and that you have to make kind of that decision. Okay, I'm gonna bring that out on stage. I'm gonna joke about it. Was that more you forcing yourself to kind of think of it in a different way? What was that like? Is that was that therapy for you, or was that just something that you were going through, so you talked about it?
Both. After Blind Ambition and the response people received from it, I got a lot of letters and whatnot from people that have been going through their own maladies and disabilities
Yeah.
that felt inspired by it. So then I knew that that's kind of what I was supposed to do. And I had been subconsciously doing my whole career anyway. You talk about what you're going through. So when I went to complete zero vision, Michael, in June of 2020. So while the rest of the world was going, crazy over all the other things going on, I went to bed, looked at one text, woke up the next morning, it was all gone. And so I said, okay, this is where I have to be. So I start preparing myself to live this life without eyes. And so by the time I started able to get on stage again, it wasn't hard for me to talk about anything, any aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so I just not.
Yeah, that's so amazing and inspirational. So what's Super Bloom? What does that title? What's it represent? What's it mean?
So right around 2018,
Yeah.
I was going through a lot of personal things, and so I've always tried to find life metaphors to make me understand what it is that I'm going through, or find a way to associate that. But So the California fires is just devastating LA County. And, and I don't watch the news, but I listen, hearing these stories about people losing their lives and homes and property. And it just affected me. And then after that, there was this torrential Noah's Ark type flooding. And I was like, fire and flood. This is like back in the Bible type stuff. But be, because of the fire oxidizing the soil and the rain, it caused a bloom of poppies so extraordinarily beautiful that people from all over the world start flying in to take pictures. And it kind of resurrected that community financially. So I took that to mean something to me, that we all have to have a super bloom at some point. At that time, personally, my first wife, who I spoke about in Blind Ambition, she was going through a lot of personal pains, and my friendship wasn't enough, and she took her life, and that really, really hurt, because I felt like I got so much from her in life, and she got very little from me. And then my father had contracted cancer and had a heart condition, and he said he didn't want to fight it anymore. So trying to prepare for life without my father, it was just hard. So I was looking for some sort of super bloom. So when that happened, the actual super bloom happened, it gave me a metaphor to kind of time my life around and kind of wait for the positive show up after all this utter devastation I felt was happening.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's such a good metaphor for all of us, because everybody's going through something.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a rebirth or a resurrection. You're coming out of some darkness into this beautiful new world. I love that.
And I couldn't steal The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow, so that was already
So you've been really open, talking about the difficult times that you went through, and I know there around the first album you talk some about having some suicidal thoughts and just dealing with some depression. Is that all stuff that you've put behind you now, that you can kind of look back and learn from it, or is that stuff you're still working through and dealing with?
No, man. I let all that stuff go. I
Good.
talk about it in the album, where Dr. Law, the surgeon, he was, had no idea I had these dark thoughts in my head, and he was literally had to sew my cornea back in with a needle and thread, which he's actually having to hurt me to heal me. And
Yeah.
I realized this guy is working harder for my life than I have ever worked hard for my life, and so everything went away with that. And from that moment on, it's just been, hey man, it's all a gift now.
I love that perspective. I mean, that's really terrific. Have you found, since you fully lost your sight, have you found, has anything changed? Are you are things tasting different, or do you know what I mean? Is anything physically changed for you?
Um, I could all because my eyes are always pretty bad. All the other senses were, they were in tune with the lack of vision, but now it's zero vision. It sounds cliche, but everything is a lot more heightened. I'm way more in tune to a lot more things. Sleep
Yeah.
is a little different because I can't ever tell if it's really day or night. So
Yeah.
that's always a little different. But my reactions in relations with people have just been phenomenal because I can't judge them physically, and they
Right.
get to look me up and down. But I just, and I have to trust every single person that comes into my life, because I they could have a gun, but I'd never know. They
Right.
could be, robbed. They could do anything, and I have to trust every aspect of the process. So that makes me feel supernatural sometimes, to be that vulnerable and still trust that everything is working out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, I would think that in some ways would be kind of freeing, because
Yeah,
there's no reason to worry about it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's there's nothing, I mean, we dream with our eyes closed anyway, right? You ever been in the
Right.
middle of a dream and you wake up and you're like, oh, I wish I could go back to that dream.
All the time.
Yeah, but it's like that. Except, it's just a real life thing for me though. There's no
Yeah.
separation between eyes closed and eyes open, so it feels like I'm always dreaming.
Well, that doesn't actually sound too bad, actually.
I mean, I don't recommend it for everybody, but
If you weren't in comedy, what would you be doing?
Right now, current state.
Yeah.
Probably some other way of giving. Maybe I, learn how to do a TED talk, or have somebody help me write a book, or try to motivate people. I really believe in, anything is possible. And I just happen to use the comedy as the vessel. But I think, yeah, I mean, I really care about people and the impact that we can all have. Like, I think we have ultimately high ceilings, what we're capable of. You just have somebody to believe in you. And so that's really the core of who I am. So what I'm always trying to do is make my dreams come true, so I can show other people how to make their dreams come true, no matter what they are.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a true. Your whole outlook is very inspiring. Love it.
Thank you.
I heard you on the radio the other day on one of the comedy stations, and you popped right up. I was like, hey, I'm getting ready to talk to him.
All right. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really good. I usually I'm a sports guy, so I usually have it on sports, but it was one of those times I was like flipping through the comedy channels on XM or Sirius, and there you were. I was like, hey, get ready to talk to him.
Are you a Mountaineer guy? Are you born and bred a Mountaineer, man? You have to follow the team, or who you follow?
Yeah. So I'm been here my entire life. Graduated from Marshall, but I've always been a Mountaineer fan. Always. Is that right? Wow. Yeah, and it's painful. It's painful. We've had some good teams through the years.
Didn't they used to have a coach named Gail Catlett or something like that?
Oh yeah. When I started watching the basketball team, that's who was the coach, Gail Catlett.
All right. I knew he was somewhere in the back of my mind somewhere.
Yeah, he the game I remember was around 1980, and they were playing UNLV. UNLV was ranked number 1, and Gail Catlett's team upset them. And I think maybe they were in Morgantown. They may have been out in Vegas, but Gail Catlett. I'm very impressed that you knew that one.
Man, I've got a memory for those sports teams. I remember a lot of that stuff. Yeah,
that's what I do with. That's how I bond with my dad. We watch West Virginia sports and lament at the outcome most of the time.
It's a beautiful campus, though. I was there once in Morgantown. I
really. Yeah. My daughter graduated from there. My brother's graduated. Well, my dad's a graduate from up there. So, I've been up there many times. It really is a really nice campus. Yeah, very nice. All right, you went up a notch or two with me.
Oh boy, okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, I love the new album. What I've been listening to, really funny stuff. Not all of it is safe for work.
That's right. That's right.
But funny stuff. Yeah, it's really good.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
So I wanted to ask you about, and I've probably heard this before, but you've got a little skit or a segment that's called Morpheus Magoo.
Yeah.
Remind me what that is about.
Well, so I was feeling most pretty good. Again, I'm an affirmations guy. I'm always doing my affirmations, keeping my mind strong and dreaming big dreams. And so I was standing in the airport in Milwaukee, and this old brother came up to me and goes, "Hey, aren't you a comedian?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He goes, "I saw you on TV. You're pretty funny." I said, "Thanks." He said, "You're the real philosophical brother with the effed up eyes." And I was like, that's not how I describe myself, but sure. And he goes, "Yeah, man, you like half Morpheus, half Mr. Magoo. You's a funny dude." And he literally said that to me, and it made me laugh. I was on that half Morpheus, half Mr. Magoo, because it's accurate.
That is hilarious. Well, I've heard your skits talking about people thinking you were Forrest Whitaker. Those are really funny too.
Yeah, back then,
yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. So what's next? Now that you have this out, Super Bloom, what are you doing now? Are you touring? Are we getting a special? What's coming next?
I would like to go down that path of doing another special and some touring to promote the special. But I tell you what my real passion is I've been working on a couple of business deals where I've been trying to acquire the comedy club franchise in Canada called Yuck Yucks. It's about 15 clubs. I'm trying to expand that brand across the border because there's a lot of mom and pop clubs that have been really hit hard by COVID, and I think
Yeah.
it's a opportune time to get some of those. But I really want to revolutionize that comedy club industry, man. I want to run it the right way. So this comedy shouldn't have to be feast or famine, either Eddie Murphy famous or sleeping in your car. And I think that just comes with paying attention to the club. And so that's my real passion. So if I can use my stand-up profile to help generate awareness to that business plan, I think the world needs a lot more laughter, and some of the best
Agreed.
places that people have had is in comedy clubs.
Yeah. And Yuck Yucks. That's a great name.
Yeah, it's been around for 46 years, heritage brand, and I would never mess with the brand. But I think comedy clubs should just be run a little differently. They're all the same. There's always a brick wall and the same nacho. It's been the same thing for 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
like to try
what's one thing that you would do differently?
from the show times are their normal show times, but in the daytime, those things are just sitting there easy, sitting there empty.
Yes.
I would set up podcast studios. We've already got a record comedy record label we're going to put some things together with. So I would like to help comics generate revenues during the daytime by all the
That's a great
live streaming
idea.
and podcasting, all those sorts of things, right? And so we rent out the clubs to people that don't have their own studios. We set up the cameras and everything, and we turn the comedy clubs into content capturing centers. And it just
Love
adds
that.
some more depth and substance to the whole comedy industry.
Yeah, I love that because if you can provide a setting, where they can podcast or record, do that time, you could do a lot of stuff with that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. You teach the comedy classes, you have some corporate adventures going on. The clubs are just sitting there in the daytime, and there's a lot of revenues being left behind instead of just waiting for 7 p.m. and closing at midnight. I think there's opportunity for that.
Yeah, you could bring people on to practice some of their sets on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Early Peaks.
It's limitless. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's limitless.
Love that
that's
idea.
what I've been focused on. Thank you.
Well, would you bring that over here to the States?
Yes, I'm in Florida now, and we're acquiring our first U.S. club, the old Coconuts on St. Pete Beach. So we're preparing to get ready to do renovations on that, and then we'll go and look around. I'd like to be, where I believe sports and comedy and music go hand in hand.
Sure.
So I'd like to have present all those great markets where you have some sports and fans and comedy and music. All those things go hand in hand. So of course I want to be all over the U.S. as well.
I feel like we need that in West Virginia.
Yeah, you've got a big fan base out there.
We do, but we've got no comedy clubs.
Right. It's always been tough.
Yeah. There used to be a few, but they've died out over the years. So there you go. Bring that to bring it to Charleston, Morgantown, Huntington.
Yeah, I'll be out there. I'll be trying to catch everybody's charm with my Gail Catlett references, just see how long I can keep running that.
Yeah. You had me sold. That's a pretty good reference.
Yeah.
Pretty good reference. Yeah, that's let's see, we had Catlett, and then I'm pretty sure there was somebody briefly, and then it was John Beeline, and now it's Huggy Bear. We got Bob Huggins now.
Yep. It's a good coach.
Yeah.
Huggins is a good coach.
Man, he is a good coach. I wish, and this is silly for me to say because he's won 900 times or whatever, but his teams can never shoot. They're so good defensively. They do everything real sound, can't shoot.
Yeah, he gets all those JUCO guys.
Yeah.
Who have flaws in their game, but he makes them tough in there. They always play great defense, and they pound.
Oh yeah, he gets the most out of them.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he really does.
Yeah. Javon Carter, now is playing with the Nets, but he was out in Phoenix for a while. I mean, he's not the best shooter, but probably one of the best defenders I've ever seen. Just amazing.
On-ball defender, unbelievable. They're really gritty. They're tough guys, man. That's how Huggins raises them.
Yeah. Well, and at times it can be painful to watch because it's kind of an ugly game, but there's some beauty in the ugly. You know, if you really like defense and grit and stuff, his teams are fun.
Which would makes them always very tough during tournament time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He'll have them ready again this year. They'll be a tough out, I figure.
They can knock you out of your game, but you can't knock them out of their ugly game. You know what I mean?
That's right. Oh, that's right. Well, Darryl, this has been terrific. Thank you so much for coming on the show for a little bit.
Thank you very much for having me, Michael. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll get to it hand to hand one day from ever out.
Yes, I would love that. You get your podcast thing going, I'll come visit.
I'll be awesome. I love that.
I really do love that idea because I think you're right, and especially now with what we've been through the last couple of years, you can't afford to have something sitting. You know, you can't just use it at night or on weekends. Right. You gotta have something going on all the time. I think that's terrific.
You gotta maximize every inch of it if you can.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Well, Darryl, thank you so much for coming in. A couple things though before you go. Anything else that you're working on that we can kind of keep an eye out for?
Well, that's not enough. Maybe
that's a lot. That's pretty busy.
Revolutionize the comedy club industry. Anything else?
I mean, if that's all you got, I guess that's all. Are you going to call your buddy Conan and say, "Hey, come help me launch this thing"?
He's got a podcast, and I love to get back on it. I like to do as much awareness as I can, and so that's all predicated on how well Super Bloom keeps doing, and then what we do with the special. I am actually literally today. I was working on trying to put together a talk show set. So I went and watched the old Conan set. And I started studying talk shows again. So I'm actually going to start sitting down and trying to formulate another talk show set so I can have one coming up soon.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I would love that. So where can we find Super Bloom?
I don't. It's on all the platforms. I don't know all the handles of them since people have to do that for me. And so I guess if you just Google my name or go to my website, DarrylLennox.com.
That's where I found it. Yeah.
Okay. Then that's probably where everybody can find it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. I don't know who's doing your website, but they're doing a pretty good job. It's
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
those
you.
aren't easy.
I don't know. If you say so. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not. I've had a lot of help working on our website. It takes some work. So you got somebody good working on it because it looks good.
Thank you. I'll certainly let them know.
Well, thank you so much, Darryl. And definitely you got to come back when you get stuff rolling. Yeah, come back on and talk to us some more.
I would love to, man. I enjoyed this very much.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Okay, hold on one second. All right, so that was the hilarious Darryl Lennox. Big fan of his. I think his story, what he's overcome, so inspirational. Absolutely love his comedy. And I was talking to him after I hit pause. I should have said this on camera, but I love the fact that he can talk about things that are a little uncomfortable and make you kind of sad. And then just on a dime, the next sentence, just have you absolutely cracking up and just laughing your head off. That's a talent. That's not easy to do. I think he's got such a good perspective, positivity, and I love that he's taking his talent in comedy and now he's wanting to spread that out and help other people and bring some comedy clubs that we haven't seen, the type of clubs that we haven't seen before. So I just think such a terrific guy. So happy that you got to spend a little bit of time with him. If you haven't heard him before, look him up. So DarrylLennox.com. It's got some of his clips from his shows and his stand-up. Hilarious. Or just Googling. There's so many good appearances out there. It's really great. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again this week. Hope you liked that one. We're up to 335 or so episodes, and you can watch all of them on YouTube, MeisterCon Pod. appreciate it if you would subscribe. That would help us out a lot. You can listen to them or watch them on our website, meistercon.com, and that'll let you know if we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, if we're covering conventions, if we're going to see Darryl perform. All that would be on the website, meistercon.com. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you coming back again this week. Until next time. Bye, everybody.